Good morning, St. Thomas. Sooner or later, as people of faith, and that includes us, we're faced with answering difficult questions about suffering. Put more sharply in the current situation, how can the kind of care demonstrated in the phrase from today's Gospel, even the hairs of your head are all counted, square with the untimely death of more than 40,000 people in this country and so many more worldwide? Is this a God who doesn't really care? Or perhaps worse, is too weak in the face of COVID-19 to care? Or worse still, is somehow responsible for it? Such questions are obviously not new, but they do come into sharp relief at this time. They go under the general title of theodicy. Now, there are a number of good rational arguments to counter such difficulties, and they may work in the abstract, but in the concrete of something like bereavement or severe physical pain, they don't cut any mustard at all. You only have to think of when you have toothache to imagine your reaction if someone says, well-meaning no doubt, "Let me give you some quite complicated theology now about free will. What you need is the dentist, or at least some paracetamol." It's also unsatisfactory to dismiss this airily as just another mystery, because that somehow devalues the experience of the other person. And mystery is not the same as honestly saying to another, "I don't know why it's like this. I can't explain it. It must be terrible." In those last phrases, you have examples of empathy, a being with, or even compassion, a suffering with. C.S. Lewis of Narnia fame produced a slim volume called The Problem of Pain, which I don't think is really very satisfactory in this respect. Much better, and after the early death of his beloved wife Joy, is A Grief Observed. Not an explanation, but a witnessing of what grief really means. There is evidence of the same things in our scripture and in our theology, which may not answer those difficult questions, but reframes them or redirects them. The Psalms are a go-to place for language which addresses God in person, often in such a forthright way that our Christian piety might feel a bit embarrassed, but honesty is their function. So classically, Psalm 22, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me, from the words of my groaning? O my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Jesus turned to these words at the moment of his crucifixion, speaking out loud words of isolation and dereliction to the God he believed he was trying to follow. So the notion of Jesus with us in our pain, of a God who suffers because of the pain of his only Son, does not take away from our difficulties, but sits with them and endures with them. The resurrection offers a further framing of this human situation, perhaps especially pertinent now. The resurrected Christ shows his hands and his side to the disciples. The marks of nail and spear are still there. For individuals, local communities and whole societies, the wounds of the pandemic will endure. They cannot be dismissed. They will be part of the new normal, but there can be new life. The role of the Church, following the words of Albert Schweitzer, is to be the community that bears the mark of pain, and therefore witnesses also to the resurrection. Amen.